Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. And I'm your host, Ellie, and I've been gone for a while, folks. I'm having some heart problems and um, blockages for blood flow to my legs, and I broke my tailbone, of all things. So it's rough, but I'm here today, and we're going to do some news. And I got trivia coming up. So I thank Mr. William dearly for taking over this week, and he'll be doing quite a few shows to help me out while the doctors sew me back together again. Yeah, or I'm like Humpty Dumpty. I fell off the wall, and now they're piecing me back. So good to be back, and as you can see, we've got a big report on Yemen, and boy, do we. Um, um, you know, uh, when I heard about this last night, I was really surprised. I didn't think they had it in them to go after the United States. And I'm trying to, there we go. Um, so I want to jump right into it. And so it was a large scale attack on what were described as multiple Houthi military targets in Yemen. Took place Thursday night. Tomahawk cruise missiles and fighter jets were involved in the attacks against the Iranian backed group that has been firing missiles and drones at commercial ships. And this has happened in the Red Sea for weeks. The attack was carried out by British and American forces. Um, the Netherlands and Australia, Canada provided intelligence, logistical, and other support. Citing officials did not name, although the United States did not comment about the attacks before it took place. It was among multiple media sites that reported that earlier Thursday, British Prime Minister approved British participation in the airstrikes. The decision was approved by the British cabinet. So, um, the thing about it is, British knew about it before we did. And nobody knows why. No one has an explanation for it. But the British did have a pre warning. So why didn't the United States? Um, oh, what do we got going on here? A commercial. Great. You guys wanted to see the commercial, right? Um, well, that's not, well, let's try this again. All right, there we go. I got a video that's showing a lot of stuff for you guys. Um, so, um, this video is going to show you a lot of what happened yesterday. And I'm glad to say I was able to get it so you guys can kind of take a look at it. So, UK did know about this. Now, the timeline, it was just a couple of days ago that they launched over 20 drone strikes and missiles in the Red Sea. More than 100 Houthi launched drones that were shot down since October 17th. And as you can see, they've attempted to nearly 30 attacks in international shipping. That's a very important Red Sea area endangering commercial travel. This strike last night costed the United States close to 100 million, probably even more. The United States, the United Kingdom, and our coalition partners, they hit over 100 targets in 16 locations with 100% precision. They use guided munitions. Given the graphics, obviously, they took out whatever they were keeping their drones, but does not stop them. Did we hit all the stuff, or do we have more stuff to go? Well, if you go all the way back to Iraq War, if you remember, the hunt for scuds is very hard to find these things. Um, And, the territory of Yemen is going to be very hard, folks. Uh, did we hit them all? I don't know. Only the military knows, and as Me and William has told you on World War III reports, they're not going to let us know everything. Ultimately, it could be difficult to stop these attacks. And you know who's not getting attacked though in the Arden Strait is China. And the Chinese aren't getting hit because they're supporting the Iranians. They're supporting maybe the Houthis. I mean, this is obvious of what's going on here. And unfortunately, we're just not thinking straight. If we had changed our policies regarding who we supported in Israel instead of Iran, we wouldn't have this problem right now. The Saudis were getting rocketed regularly. You remember when Yemen was attacking Saudi? And it was going on and on and on. We finally sent launchers and missiles and rockets to Saudis to help them out. Well, it seems that has stopped too. Why? What made that stop? Me and Williams got to check into that. And the Saudis were getting rocketed regularly, and they want to take action. They used our equipment, our materials, and we would supply them. And then all of a sudden they said, well, after this administration comes in, the Saudi Arabia said, basically, it's a pariah of a nation, and Houthi rebels are terrorists. Iranians, the Iranians should be at the table to negotiate with the U.S. Administration. And what are they going to do? Negotiate another bad deal is what they claimed. So, did we have a bad deal? Nobody ever knew. And I look back and it's not really, if they did have any info on it, it's disappeared. The UK and US firing more than 100% precision guided missiles to Yemen. These strikes coming from ships and even US submarines. This was a significant escalation. The defense secretary warns there will be more of this if Iran-backed fighters do not end their attacks on international shipping. The rebels say America and UK should prepare to pay a heavy price. And the developments overseas are already getting reaction here at home with protesters taken to the streets in New York, Washington, Oregon, and a few other states to condemn the strikes guided munitions. Why? Why? Why are we so worried about? Why are these protesters so worried about Houthis now? Have they changed their direction? Have they changed the protesting to include Houthis and Yemen? Is it just the Yemen people? So we took place both land and sea targeting ammo storage, productions, facilities used by Iranian-backed rebels, as well as launching systems and air defense radar systems. That's according to the United States Air Force. The mid-commands, now the president stated that these strikes carried out in partnership with the UK and other countries send a clear message that the United States will not tolerate hostile actors, compromising personnel safety and upending free navigation in the Red Sea since October 19th. 130 attacks have been carried out in Syria against U.S. forces by Iran proxies. And that was Syria and Iraq. And, Biden said is yada, yada, yada. If he wrote the speech, I really don't believe it is that he wrote it. I think his advisors wrote this. So November 19th, there have been 27 ships attacked by Houthi rebels' aggression that escalated since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, with officials saying that these hostilities include the use of an anti-ballistic missiles defense. Now, we got the Secretary Austin ordered the retaliatory strikes from the hospital, according to the CNN. Stated the quote Thursday, the coalition sends a clear message to the Houthis and they will bear further cost if they do not end their illegal attacks in the United States. Um, and the United States does maintain its right to self-defense. Well, kind of slow. 130 attacks on our bases in Syria and Iraq, and then they've been attacking ships in the around Arden Strait. Um, and now we decide. Now we decide to attack. Why? Why didn't we do this earlier? Why didn't Lloyd Austin get rough and say these harsh words with the administration? Until now. Now it's something else. Navy ships' captains did not have the authority to shoot at missiles being launched. That's the response. Why did our Navy captains not have the authority to shoot missiles or even shoot at them or even shoot at actual just Houthis that were shooting at them even from shore, even when they detected them? So I guess it's better late than never. Yeah, Mr. President. Hmm. He's received a lot of back blow from selected members of his party. Progressive congressman wrote saying that violating article of one of the constitutions carried out by airstrikes in Yemen without constitutional approval, that before launching a strike against the Houthis and Yemen and involving the U.S. and other Middle East conflict, they'll stand up regardless of what the Democrat Republicans say. So Republicans are basically are largely in lockstep on this top strike. Republican on Armed Services Committee, Senator Roger Wicker, stated that the strike was about 2 months overdue, maybe even 6 months overdue. But it is a good step towards deterrence, they say. This strike weeks ago, others say that the increase in chances of the United States being dragged into a larger war or larger conflicts. So where does everyone lie on this? Well, both of these are true, but this was a vital and necessary step. And I'm glad we actually involved our allies from the UK and others in on this. Freedom of navigation, a protection of global trade is one of the main functions of the United States Navy. I don't know if you knew that. And I think we needed to do it, but we needed to act a lot sooner. I think we did lose sight of the fact that this Houthis are basically a franchise of terror. It's a terror operation of Iran regime. They are 100% owned and operated by the Iranians. And they are not really as much militias as they're a terrorist force. They have been attacking Iraq and Syria as Hezbollah and Hamas are doing it to the same point. Both backed, paid for, and supplied by Iran. We're going to have to deal with the spider at the center of this web. Serious. That's the real danger. Okay, so senior White House officials say that we fully expect to diminish the Houthis' capabilities. We would not be surprised to see some sort of response, right? So do you think we can expect it realistically to happen? I don't think there's a chance Houthi and Iranian proxies I think they're going to go slower in their operations just because of the attack we finally took. Now, this is something me and William could probably discuss maybe Monday or even on the World War III report as we see what happens over the weekend in the next few days. Did they vow to attack? Yes, they did. I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And I think we damaged a lot of their abilities to do so. But they did a parade. They've got people in their streets. They've got a lot. They've got a lot of stuff. And it surprised me when I actually seen the video on what they actually had. I went, oh my God, how did they get all that stuff? You would not believe the missiles, the launchers, the tanks. I thought when we pretty much with sanctions crippled Yemen and Oman, but it looks like we know where Iran has been spending their money. We also need to be prepared for escalation from Iran, maybe. In other areas, they may tell Hezbollah and other actors to turn up the heat. Israel, I'm sorry, Iran might tell um, these Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. But now, as William told you, we're starting to see a lot going on, even in Africa, where we got the Boko Haram. Even they're wrapping up, ramping up. I'm sorry. Um, even what they're doing, and a lot of different groups there, or even going town to town and massacring people. Now I'm finding there's money from Iran going and China going into Africa. So are we going to see the same thing happen? Now, let's get back to Lloyd of Austin, orchestrating all of this from his hospital run. Now, I've been in the hospital. I know there ain't much you could do from there. You know, you're all hooked up to everything. He's really not going to be able to get a speech out. Is he on pain meds? Can he think straight? Why have they not put in his replacement? I mean, it's not like we're going to do away with him. Let's let somebody else step in and do this so they can make correct decisions. And the Pentagon, obviously, we've reported extensively on his health conditions. Yeah, yeah. What they gave us, he's in there for prostates. Okay. Um, can you think of a time in history where something like that has happened, where somebody's been in a sort of incapacitated capacity and authorize a strike like this? And what is Iran thinking? What is China thinking? What is Russia thinking? We had him disappear for a week, Biden on vacation for a week. Blinken was over deciding Palestinian needs their own place. We had others running over to China. And remember, I said something's happening, folks. Something's happening. When everybody disappears and all they're saying is, hey, let's look at Epstein. Yeah, let's all check out Epstein's black books. Look, look, look. I knew something was up. And now look what's happened. This is what I was afraid of. What are going to be the ramifications of this? Now, I assume Mr. Austin is, he's pretty on his toes of his duties, except that he's forgot. he failed to inform his chain of command that he was an intensive care unit. When you're intensive care, usually you're out of it. Yep. That's a dereliction of duty. My omission or my opinion, he needs to be fired. If he's not fired, the Republicans in House ought to start impeachment hearings because he let our entire country down. And why do I say that? Because Britain knew about this before us. Or did we know? Or did he get the message at his office and got the answering machine? We failed on this one. Just like we did with 9/11. Remember, they got the warnings and they ignored it. Where was the Department of Defense on this? Where was the Pentagon? Where was our defense in all of this? We knew, if I knew, just little old Ellie knew something was up and something big was going to happen, why didn't they? They put us all at risk by refusing to tell even the deputy that was in charge that could have taken over for him that he was incapable of doing his job for just a couple of days. Iranian-backed terror group at Hezbollah out of Lebanon had a very concerning report. And Political says the U.S. official assesses that there is a rising risk of Lebanese. The Hezbollah militias said they will strike Americans in the Middle East, that this is not over. They've only just begun. Boy, was that a Karen Carpenter song or what? I wonder if the guys were singing that over there. Yeah, we only just begun to death to America, death to Israel. Now they're adding Australia and UK in it. These officials say the chance for assault on U.S. soil is growing. That's what Hezbollah says, folks. That's not us saying it. That's what Hezbollah said. What did I just say? A chance for an assault on U.S. soil is growing. They declined to give any specifics. Well, of course. They don't want to give any specifics about the kind of attacks Hezbollah might consider. But they did say that particular terror group has capabilities that other terror groups don't. And they are in the United States. And didn't I tell you? This is Hezbollah saying it, folks, not me. Not me and not our administration. Hezbollah says they're here. And now we're paying for it. And I think, and we're paying for them to be here. We're giving them credit cards and clothes and hotels to stay in. Oh yeah, I bet they're loving it. And we have to recognize when you go right back to the root of all of this, it's Iran, it's China, it's Russia, it's BRIC. So many policies today in our country, I think, have been broken. If you go back to China and the ancient Chinese Sun Tzu said about the general is knowing, and when is that if you know you're winning a war without fighting, we're not very good. That's right. We're fighting a war with China and Russia, and we're really not winning. And there hasn't been no boots on the ground, no missiles fired. We're supplying, but we're in a way, they feel that we're losing this war. They're winning. How many? Even strikes against the United States. They said, "Hey, we won." No, we weren't. Nobody won over there in the Middle East. We're still going at it. I think the problem comes out of these strikes. Just to build on what's the delay? What is the delay of why we keep backing off and not jumping in? I bet Reagan would have been on this after the first base in Syria or Iraq was hit. Why aren't we going after their leadership? Because that's one thing I seen with the Trump administration. He went after the weapon depots. And if you remember, we went after their leaders. Trump hit quite a few leaders, even though they replaced them. He still made a point, and the Middle East all backed off. So, and who is really responsible for leading all the attacks in the whole region in itself? And it's very clear that Iranian leadership, if you continue they're going to pay the price, is what they say. Unfortunately, the United States, we're just not making the right decisions. And who's making the decisions? Lloyd Austin. He's in the hospital. I forgot. No, I did. He's making major decisions. And, attacking Houthis, what is your reaction? Now, what I just said, we're not making the right decisions. We failed. But he wasn't in the hospital then when the attacks, 130 attacks in Syria and Iraq. He wasn't in the hospital. Where was he? He was in front of Congress with LGBTQ, whatever. He's worried about that. He was running around the country doing speeches, I found out, for their rights. Why wasn't he on this, folks? That's why he needs to be impeached. He knows his responsibility to notify or change anything that is going on around the world to protect our forces. And after the attack by the Houthis on ships, where was he? From Denmark, the president told the Pentagon officials to go ahead and accelerate building a military coalition. Drop a list of targets, he said. Then 2 days later, 13 days later, other nations actually signed on to it. I don't think it was 2 days later. I think it was more like 2 weeks later. The administration has maintained, including last night in Iran, is a primarily enabler for a primary antagonist. And yet we've been able to report that they've been enriched by billions over oil. They spent billions. They ramped up their nuke programs. There is so much benefit to the Iranians. Why or when will those consequences occur? Well, Jim Carrey's running over there and making sure they're okay. Shouldn't he be impeached? Nothing happens in this vacuum. There's actually policy decisions that got us to where we are today. Those policies, I'm probably going to have to ask William on this. Those policies decisions started the early days of the Biden administration. So on January 11th, exactly 3 years ago, after a year of putting together a package, the Trump administration and Mike Pompeo under the State Department and designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization, put sanctions on them. Well, 3 years later, Biden administration had to pursue the strikes. But he let them all go. Remember? He dropped their terrorist status for them over in Oman and quite a few other terrorist groups. He did away with everything Trump did, and this was one of them. And of course, let him dropped all the sanctions. So that is where we see Iran was able to move in really quick, folks, and say, hey, here we go. Here's another one. We could get ready to go to war in the Middle East against the United States. The administration removed that terrorism designated from Houthis. And instantly they started their attacks. So they removed that designation without getting anything for it. No negotiation, no prisoner swap, no nothing. Biden just thought we were being really mean to the Houthis. And did we really think they were going to stop their terrorism? They clearly continued it from the 2nd of February of 2021 when Biden gave the speech. We are no longer going to send these defensive weapons to Saudi. We have to stop the war. And in Yemen. And there are a lot of civilian casualties. That war was not without controversy. But Saudi said they were going to go after the Houthis no matter what. And of course, they've done that. So, of course, Saudi quit. Saudi said, no, forget it. We were looking bad at Saudi. Saudi sees that Iran's now supporting Houthi. And Saudi said, nah, basically why the Saudi prince does not even want to talk to Biden. And it only gave them reason to join BRIC. So they had 90 billion, Iranians did, not only to give to Hamas and Hezbollah, but Houthis and others. Now we have a nightmare scenario, and that we never wanted after 9/11. I'm old, and a lot of these generations do not remember 9/11. I think that's why they can look over it. I always worried about the sophisticated weaponry getting in the hands of terrorist groups. Karen knows I've done so much on ISIS, and I was so worried about it. And then when Obama Biden administration, they just left everything, just like we did in Afghanistan. So we loaded them up with equipment. And as we go to battle, we're seeing our military weapons and equipment being used against our forces. They're going after the Navy sailors, going after civilian infrastructures. They've got sophisticated drones. What? Really? These were I don't want to say dirt devils, but they were dirt devils. They didn't have much. Now, oh boy, have you seen the equipment and the army and the stuff they got now? How'd they get the drones? And we're not just talking IEDs and stuff. Um, um, now they've got more because of what we left. And this was the days of Barack Obama in Afghanistan. You're talking about ballistic missiles and weapons given to the Houthis. So 3 years ago, and this disastrous plan that this administration had, the Iran policy led to Hamas on October 7th. It led to Houthi attacks, which is stopping shipping going directly after American forces, our ships, our navies, our bases. So really, were we responsible for last night's attack? In a way, we are. If we keep feeding the money to Iran, we've got to impeach John Kerry. We got to do that. He has been a sympathizer with Iranians and going over there in lieu of, hey, I'm going to do negotiations. We're going to fix this. We're going to get them to back off. Has it happened? Do you realize he's been doing this for 20 years? What has he stopped? What has he actually done in Iran that actually made it better? Hillary, during a Barack Obama Biden administration, was going over to North Korea quite a few times to keep him from action. Going to China. Did it do any good? This Barack Obama Biden administration has been a mistake. They have not kept our country safe. It's national security. Didn't they swear? Didn't they swear on this to take these positions? I'm really torn on this because I feel though we are backing yet into another war. And I think there are people in this administration that want war. This administration continues to this day to send money to Iran. And now we know what they're doing with it. We know what they've done with it. We know the future of what they're going to do with it. And not only that, but sending more and more money to Ukraine. For what? They're losing. And we have a war, depending on what we see with the elections in Taiwan. China could start. China said they're looking to the spring. It's only a few months away. Are they putting us to war? Now I don't know if William is still in here. William, under wartime, does the election stop? I know there was some type of policy like that. Are they trying to stop our election with wars so that they can keep the Democrats in office and just put someone else in? And at least Great Britain stepped in and said, we're gonna go after them because they heard about it first. Now, there's a thing called the Wars Powers Act. It requires him to respond defensively in the case of an emergency. But that would be like kind of retaliation for things that have gone wrong for the last couple months. Um, the war powers is correct in a world where we have missiles. If somebody launches a missile, the president does not have time to go to Congress. Now, William, we might have to go over the War Powers Act. Now, the president does not have time to go to Congress and says, "Hey, I want to make my case. Um, we're going to be vaporizing another country." However, if you said it like been 90 days plus, I know I'm going over this quickly. They have been fighting and shooting against us. Now, the president has a responsibility to go in front of the American people and Congress to make his case. So if there's this vaporizing and this big war going on, Congress needs to decide correct, absolute. You are absolutely correct. We have to go through the authority that we have been involved in Yemen. Okay, so um, 2015 and 2018, we tried to get a war powers resolution passed. And yep, get us back out of Yemen. And that was 2018 with Paul Ryan. And he did a parliamentary trick. He did the vote on the war powers resolution in the farm bill. And then so the people voted for the farm bill, but put the war resolution basically into effect. Now, the massive war powers resolution, according to the War Powers Act, to get us out of Yemen, think of this, our Congress is voting on management of wolves, but not we go to war directly. Maybe a year later, we're able to get it to the floor and passed in the House. The War Powers Act was passed in the 1970s, but the interpretation that people have of it is you have to go look it up. And you have to really look at it and see how it's all over the place, folks. But the only reason why we did it was to get us out of Yemen in 2019. And it went before the House and the Senate. They passed it with 53 votes, but Donald Trump vetoed it. And now it's within the authority to veto, but it demonstrated to me how ridiculous this War Power Act is. You know why it's so stupid? Because it takes 2/3 of the vote. So if if he wants to go in just because he thinks there's vaporization happening, he can do it. And if it takes 2/3 of the vote of Congress and Senate to be able to stop him, which isn't going to happen. They know that. They know that. Well, never, if we want to stop him in Ukraine and say no, and they say we're going to do the War Powers Act, well, that means we can get him out, but it takes 2/3 of the vote. And yeah, see, I got William going over here. So Panama and Grenada were wars under the War Power Act. So me and William pretty much are going to probably have to go over all of this with you guys. And I didn't mean to take up the whole show. There was a second, I want to say real quick, there was a second avalanche in Tahoe. They freed everyone to go back and hit the slopes. And lo and behold, they've had a second one now. I just wanted to get that in. There will be trivia in about 15 minutes. I got trivia all set up. William's going to win tonight, he says. I got some good ones. Yeah. How about Linda or Beth? Beth knows about it. I seen her hit the like on seeing that there was going to be trivia tonight. So, folks, I'm back slowly. Hang in there with me. I'll be back to do a show Monday, and then William has his show Monday night. And then we're going to play it by ear. Every day is going to be a new day for me and William, and toss a coin in there and say heads or tails on if Ellie's going to be able to pull this off. So with that, folks, I want to thank you all for coming and watching. Share the show. A lot of info in this, even the War Powers Act. We got to get out of Ukraine before we start this Middle East war, because that's what this is. And Iran vowed that that's what they were going to do, was sucker us in to a Middle East war. Now, where is Saudi going to be on this? Well, Saudi's being very quiet. Jordan's quiet. But Israel is there. And we know that we have militias and these groups that are paid and bought by Iran that are all over the Middle East now. And now they're starting to act. Will we see Taliban or Al Qaeda or ISIS jump back in on this? Pakistan and Afghanistan have been very quiet, which to me, that's something going on. Are they thinking about this? How much of the Middle East will be all of them against the United States, the UK? Time will only tell, but this administration doesn't know what they're doing. I think this has been the worst for military in history. And that's what happens when you have a vice president that does not know foreign policy, folks. My dad always told me, the vice president is to keep our foreign policy in check. We don't have no foreign policy vice president. She can't even control the border. And now Hezbollah says, we're in the United States. Time to worry. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are we going to be struck next? You know, it only took 19 people, terrorists, to do 9/11, and they were in this country. Only 19 of them. Something to think about. All right, folks, I thank you for watching. And hit the like and the subscribe. And I will be back in a few minutes for trivia. Let's have a little fun for tonight and relax and kick your shoes off, get your jammies on, and grab some popcorn and come on back for some trivia. Thank you very much for watching and supporting me. And we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.